This is Lauren from Walking Through Fire, and today we have Mindy Bledsoe, director, producer, screenwriter, actress, known for the movies Cut to the Chase, Hard Broads, and the 2019 amazing, my favorite, The In-Between, which is absolutely amazing. She's won many awards for her short films, and you guys are in for a treat because to top all of that off, she's a pretty amazing human being. So this is going to be a good time. Mindy, tell us a little about yourself. I mean, I basically did it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you did a much better job than I usually do. I'm so self-deprecating, and you're all like, "She's great," and I'm like,
She's phenomenal.
"I washed my face today." Actually, I went grocery shopping and I washed my face today.
We're on to big things today. Today it's 2021. We're on to new stuff.
I also made cornbread today.
All right. Well, that's, I didn't do that, but that's extreme.
I mean, it feels like an accomplishment. But anyway.
It is.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Mindy Bledsoe. Thanks for having me, Lauren. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you.
Walk through some fire together, shall we?
Let's walk through some fire. So,
yeah.
First question: How did we get into all these different aspects? Directing, producing, acting, screenwriting. How does this happen?
How does that happen? Well, I grew up in a small East Texas town, and I loved performing. I loved writing, and I loved movies. And but I never thought filmmaking was an option, really, especially because the only film schools you ever knew of were USC or AFI, and those are really expensive and long shot to get into. So I never really thought of it as an option, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life either. So I dropped out of college my first year in, so when I was 18 years old. And from 18 to 22, I wandered around the country and had weird jobs and did weird things, and finally went back home to Texas and said, I think I should go back to college now. I don't have any idea what I want to do, but I need some kind of direction. And since I love writing, I'm going to take some English courses. Maybe I'll major in English. And I signed up for college at SFA in Nacogdoches, Texas. And they had a film histories course. And I was like, yeah, duh.
I like that. Okay.
And like the second day of class, the professor starts mentioning the fact that there's a film program at this school. And I'm like, what? So I go and visit him after class, and he's like, yes, go over, meet the professor right now. And I was like, okay. And I mean, I think a day later, I switched my major and became a film major, and or cinematography major. And it was a great little film program because your first day of class, you got a camera in hand, and you go out and you shoot. So it's really different from other film colleges, film schools. A lot of times they do a lot of theory and a lot of teaching in classroom, but you're not necessarily out in the field. So so I learned very quickly in there that, well, I was a little bit older than everybody else. I'm a Texas girl. I have a very strong personality. I know what I want, and I have no problem saying it. So thus makes a very good director. So I always knew I wanted to do that. But it was the first time I was actually directing a scene that I went, wow, that I feel amazing inside. Like that feeling you get when I only ever feel it when I'm directing. It's just like, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be. I feel so comfortable here. I love creating. I love the challenges that come with directing. I love everything. It just completely fulfilled me. So, I mean, that's what I knew. Like, I knew I could never go back. Like, I could never go back to a regular job or a 9-to-5 or anything like that.
Filmmaking was it. And filmmaking I would presume, is a pretty vulnerable. You need to be pretty vulnerable because you're putting yourself into everything that you do, correct?
Yes, but you also get to hide. Yeah, but you get to hide behind the movie. You get to, when you don't put yourself in the movie, as I did, which was stupid, but when I'm just directing and not acting, I get to hide behind everything. Like I get to put everything I want into the story and sculpt it and create it. But I also get to hide behind the pretty pictures and the wonderful acting and the wonderful stories. So that's a perfect position for this extroverted introvert.
I know you are both of those, definitely combined.
Very much.
So yeah, so it works both ways. So
Yeah.
now you finish school and you come out with this movie that just came out in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, it took me, I graduated
Quite
college
some
in
time.
2007. Yeah. So it took me some time.
We're jumping a little ahead. Okay. So you come out with the in-between, and most people have seen us both go live and talk about it, but we're going to put it on here now. The In-Between came out, and the In-Between is the first movie to have a face for CRPS, chronic regional pain syndrome. And, you know, a lot of people actually have asked me, what is the name of the production studio, you guys? And it's Bledsoe. And they didn't know why you picked that. I know why, obviously, but can you tell us why that name?
Yeah, so my last name is Bledsoe, and my partner and producing partner, life partner, his last name is Sinska. So together we are Bledsoe. And his best friend gave us that moniker, and
bam, we went with it.
Yeah, I mean, Starbucks knows me as Bledsoe, so.
And that means it's real. When Starbucks knows your last name, it's real. That's all that really matters right now is Starbucks. So you come out with this movie, and you yourself have CRPS, correct?
Yes.
And you decide to put yourself, not only are you putting yourself in the movie, you're putting yourself in the movie with the illness that you actually have. Why?
Well, the reason that we did that was I have to blame Jennifer Stone, who's my co-star, co-producer, and co-writer. She only agreed to do this movie if it had some heart and it was something that she wanted to do. And we had talked about creating characters that had both of our illnesses, because she also has type 1 diabetes in real life, as does her character on screen. And anyway, we had talked about creating characters and making sure those characters had our disabilities or our illnesses on screen. So when we started talking about the in-between, she very much was like, why don't it's going to be us in the movie, we're acting, so let's just, I'll have diabetes, you'll have your CRPS, and that's part of our characters. And but the number one rule was the movie cannot be about either of those illnesses. It cannot be a movie that is sad about these illnesses or anything. It just had to be character traits, things that characters deal with, in a bigger picture of life. And that was the number one thing that Jen and I agree on, is we just did not want to make a cause movie. Nothing against them, just not what we wanted to do. We wanted representation. We just wanted characters on screen that we could identify with. If I didn't know me and I saw this movie, would I go, yeah, I know that girl because that girl's me? That's what I wanted.
And we know from having spoken to people who have watched this movie, and while we're doing this, I have tickets for anybody who watches this and would like tickets to see the movie. I have free access passes, so somebody contact me and I will give you the code for that. I've watched this movie and actually contacted Mindy because it was such a, touching movie, and I resonated with it because you watch it, and we've discussed this many times. If you have CRPS, you watch this film and you go, oh my God, that's me. I've had those nights. And Mindy has a way of acting where you believe that this is actually happening right now. And I've asked you, during the scenes that were like the most, oh my God, vulnerable, were you actually having a CRPS flare-up?
No. No, there's one big scene where it's a late night, hard pain scene. And no, I was not in the middle of a flare. I mean, I remember my current pain level around that time was probably about a 4.
Which is normal for us.
Yeah, that's pretty much my baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I wake up before, I'm like, okay, life. Um, so yeah, and very challenging. My husband had to push me. He had to push me very hard. You know, he's behind the camera, and he was saying things like, "Ain't no one gonna believe this. What the hell is this?"
This is not pain. This is not
So
what pain looks like.
yeah, yeah, and as an act, you know, it's we spend all our time masking pain. You know, we spend all this time making sure everyone else is comfortable um, before ourselves. So, I mean, that's very much the opposite of what acting is supposed to do. So, or what actors are supposed to do. So, it was hard to dive in and really open up my chest and let people see in, because you know I've had CRPS for 17 years, and you know I spent 15 of those years making sure nobody saw it. So that was really hard.
And one of the well, obviously, tell us how you got CRPS, because your story is like a little bit different. You and even in the
Yeah.
movie, and knowing you now, you are a very, you're gonna push through no matter what. You're gonna make the best of this situation, and you're going to teach people that you can still continue to go on even on your worst pain days, and that's what I love the most about you. But explain how you got this disease, because everybody's story is a little different.
Yeah. I think start with I was a softball pitcher. And that was my life. I played year-round ball. I played travel ball. I would pitch up to 7 games in a day. I was a beast. Um, but I hurt my arm a lot pitching. You know, you're growing up and things hurt, and the doctors are like, "Well, you're straining your arm." So I wore brace
You're
a lot
getting
on my
old. It's
right
fine.
elbow, and so I'd wear braces and on the arm, and I'd pitch. I'd pitch through pain. Um, you know, bite the bullet was, you know, might as well have just been tattooed on my eyelids. Um, but also, there's this beautiful thing about as a pitcher, you know, you gather all of your strength on the mound. You take deep breaths. You gather all your energy, all of your pain, all of your anger, and you explode off the mound to deliver your pitch. And you know, I had spent my life training that way, and that's kind of how I lived my life. So anyway, that's just a little
That
backstory
metaphor is, I
of who
like that.
Mindy
That
is.
metaphor works here. That you
Yeah,
do live your life that way.
yeah. So anyway, pitcher, you know, I never had surgery. Nothing ever went wrong. I quit playing ball in college. I dropped out. I just didn't want to do it anymore. My arm was hurting. I just didn't want to do it. And during my time of traveling the country and being and doing weird things, I decided I wanted to start playing the piano because, gosh darn it, I was going to be a singer songwriter. Um, anyway, about a month into piano lessons, maybe a month and a half, I just, there's so much pain started happening in my right arm and my wrist and my elbow. So I went back to my doctor, and he's like, well, it looks like you got carpal tunnel, and looks like your ulnar nerve is trapped. You know, you've done a number to your arm, but I think maybe if we go in for surgery, we can release those nerves and you'll feel better. And I said, let's go. So we did, and I woke up from surgery and was like, no, this does not feel right. This is worse pain than when I went in.
From the
And
time you
I
woke
got
up from surgery, you knew
oh,
that
I knew. I
this
knew.
is not right.
There's a lot at from waking up to surgery to being diagnosed, which took me almost 3 years. It's a very foggy time for me. But I remember waking up from surgery, and I remember because I was in a big cast, and I remember going, that's not right. This does not feel right. And you know, I'm 22, and I got patted on the head and said, it's post-surgery pain, deal with it. And I said, okay. And I kept dealing with it, and I kept dealing with it. The cast came off after 6 weeks or something. I don't, and you know, it was swollen and discolored. It's post-op pain. You just got out of the cast. It'll go away. I'm like, but this does not feel right, guys. Doesn't feel right. Doctors kept patting me on the head. Luckily, my parents were awesome. They always listened to me. At this point, I'm living with my parents at this point, almost 23 years old. My mom's having to put my clothes on for me and, put a bra on for me, all of that. So that was a quite humbling experience. But anyway, so eventually took me 3 years. In those 3 years, I saw any doctor that would see me. I took any pill that they gave me. I was never offered a nerve
So
block.
crazy.
I
So
was
crazy.
offered pain pumps and the SCS implants, but I was never offered a nerve block.
Which for
I
most people,
refused.
that is the first thing you do for treatment is a sympathetic nerve block, and you were never offered.
Never. I was not
It-
offered that until I moved to 4 years ago. 4 years ago was the first time I got offered a nerve block.
And I'm
By
going to
that time,
assume 4 years
my
ago, you
doctor's
already were
like,
done.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my PM doctor at the time was like, I don't know if it's really going to help you at this point. Like, you've kind of figured out how to deal with it. Yeah. But yeah, I took so many pills, and also this was, kind of early internet. I couldn't really find a community to talk to people. And the people that I did find, their stories were felt so much
Drastic.
bigger and worse than mine. That it kept me hiding. Because, let's see, after I got out of the cast, it was still swollen and red and purple, and it felt awful. But that eventually started to go away, and the doctors were like, "See, it's going away. You'll be fine. You're going to be fine." But as soon as some of the outer effects started to fade away, the inner pain never stopped, and that's where it started to get really frustrating, because I didn't have something visual enough that made people stop in their tracks and believe me. And that was the most frustrating thing. So when I did, look on the internet trying to find a community, and I see people with their arm or their leg is like 3 times the size of the other one, 4 times the size, I'm like, well, mine
Makes you
doesn't
doubt a little bit.
here. It does make you doubt. It makes you almost believe those doctors that say it's all in your head. Luckily, I have a strong personality, and I never thought anything was in my head. Okay, I did for a little bit. We all have those moments. We have those pain moments where we're like, I just made this up. But, the core of me always knew that what I'm feeling is real, and I'm not making it up. And pain does exist in our brain, because that's where pain exists. And doctors don't know everything.
We know that we've definitely, we nailed that down. And now, so
Yeah.
you've got this pain. How do you go about continuing your career in cinematography, producing this movie, writing this movie? You still keep yourself going. How do you do it?
I just like what I said for softball, for pitching.
Bite the bullet?
I gather I gather all of my energy, and I explode. And then I take 3 days, 3 weeks off, and you don't see me. And that is pretty much how my life has been. That's how I got through college. That's how I got through anything I've created. When you're actually in production, when you're actually shooting, that's the shortest time of making a movie. Pre-production is always longer, and post-production is longer. And that means being inside at a computer, usually. I mean, post-production is just sitting inside on your own. For me, it was. And pre-production is a lot of time in an office. So you gather all that energy for production. You get out there, and you did your 15, 16-hour days, and you do that for 14 to 21 days. And then, you disappear into a cave, because I'm so tired and I'm so exhausted.
Recollect.
Yes. I mean, it's like I have this interesting relationship with that part of my body, where I'm just like, all right, I've got this coming up. And I know you're going to hurt, but let's just get through that. And I'm going to give you the 5 days you need to recoup. Okay. So it's like I'm always doing a bargain with the devil. Like, just let me get through this, and
we're having
I'll give you whatever you need.
And you have it in which body part?
I have it in my right arm, my hand forearm up to my elbow, and it stops right above my elbow. I have mirroring effects in my left arm. I have been currently seeing a doctor because they can't quite figure out if it's spread to my hips and my bladder or if I have something else. We all know
So as usual,
my
this
gut's not feeling
comes
good.
with, yeah, it comes with a lot of different things that kind of show up as it goes, so you
Yeah.
go to the doctor and now they didn't believe you in the first place. And now you say, well, I think that it's moved, and that, well, that's impossible, but we know that it's very possible. For
Yep.
you, you have all this going on. And how does your husband deal with you having CRPS? How does your family deal with you? Did you ever have an issue with that?
No.
Okay.
And I'm going to say no because they're all really amazing. They understand. They believe me, all of that. So they're supportive. And when I say I can't, they understand. The only time there's ever an issue is just when we're being human beings. Sometimes it's hard to be around someone in pain all the time. It's hard on their brains, and they're always, my poor husband's always like, well, he thinks through situations and stresses himself out, worried about me without coming and just talking to me, and that's him wanting to help, but it can cause more commotion within him, so it's just being a human being. It's caring too much that sometimes can cause an issue. I know that is very opposite of what I've read from a lot of other people.
We've heard a lot of people say, my family doesn't believe me, my parents don't believe me, my partner left me because of this, and it's something that's nice to hear. Again, your story is a lot different than most people, and it, even in the movie, you make it where you can transcend into the movie, and it's like most of our lives, people don't know the story. I don't know if you give us a little synopsis on what the movie's about.
Oh yeah, sure. Two female friends, take a road trip across American West on a personal journey, and they both have invisible illnesses, CRPS and type 1 diabetes. And they travel from Los Angeles to Vegas to Utah to South Dakota over to Portland and then back down to Los Angeles. Did I do it? Did I give you a synopsis?
That was that was a little synopsis right there. That was a tiny one. And how did you plan this? How did you plan this movie with all the chaos that goes on in your life? How did you come about? Because I know you got a cool story on how you decided to make this movie. So tell people how this just magically appeared in your life.
Well, my husband had been on a work trip in India for 3 months. I hadn't seen him for 3 months. I think it was the longest we'd ever been apart. And he came home, and we were having some cocktails, having a good old time. And we started talking about how we were going to go on vacation and all this money we'd saved, how we were going to go on this lavish vacation. And lavish, so much money, whatever.
You went all
right.
out.
They had a bathtub. Okay. But we drank more alcohol, and then we were like, why are we going on vacation when we could just take all of this money and make our own movie? And I was like, yeah, why aren't we doing that? I'm going to turn 40 in a year, and I haven't made a feature film. And that was a goal. So I need to get off my ass and do it. And my husband's like, yeah, let's drink more. And then we woke up.
We woke up and we're like, what the hell?
Well, we woke up sober the next day, somewhat sober, and we still thought it was a good idea. And we actually, we were like, what? We wrote a horror movie. The first script was a horror movie that had nothing to do with type 1 diabetes or CRPS or.
Now, were you writing these scripts while you were drinking that night? You were just starting to throw out ideas.
We came up with some horror ideas while we were drinking. Yes, absolutely.
That'll do it.
Yeah, and in our apartment, or we just on a wall, we would just you have what are they called? Note cards, colored note cards and sticky notes with just ideas and themes and all the stuff that we could do with this horror movie. And then we approached Jennifer Stone and said, hey, we know you've got 2 weeks off. Do you want to come make a movie with us?
I know you have nothing to do, but get in the car. We're leaving. Uh-huh.
Well, she had kind of mentioned in passing that she wanted to go on a road trip during her 2 weeks off in the middle of summer. And we're like, on a road trip? Sure. Why not make a horror?
Talking about that, yeah.
And so we presented her with this idea. We're like, hey, on your 2 weeks off, let's go on this road trip and make a horror movie. And she said, no, I don't want to make a horror movie. And we're like, oh, but horror movies are really easy to sell. Let's make a horror movie. And she said, no.
Did she participate in the screenwriting of this and that process?
Of the horror movie? No.
No.
But
of the in-between.
Yes.
Okay.
So after she said no to the horror movie, we were like, well, then what? And she's like, if we're going to do this, I need a movie that has some heart, and I need these characters. I want to care about it. And I think it should have our illnesses in it. And we said, okay. So over a 3-day weekend, the three of us, Rob, Jen, and myself, we didn't leave the apartment, and we drank and smoked some marijuana and tried to figure out the story of the in-between. And at the end of it, we had about a 65-page script. And it started from there. I swear, and a month later, we hit the road, and we started filming. Oh no! Did you hear that, or can I only hear that? My battery's low on my earbuds.
Oh, it's okay. We're gonna be all right. Now, the name, the in-between. Why'd we pick the name?
Well, back in 2014. Sorry, let me pause that. I get tattoos to mark periods in my life. So when I think like a phase or a period is over or something, I get a tattoo to memorialize it somehow, Well, I hadn't quite done something for CRPS yet. And I'd been thinking about that for a long time. So it was 2013, I ended up getting a tattoo that's here. And it's a peacock.
Okay.
And the body of the peacock says, the in-between is killing. And that's because I felt all of my life with CRPS, I'd just been in this like in-between world, especially of not being diagnosed and not having a proper doctor. I just always felt kind of like I was in the in-between, and it was killing me. I hated it.
I didn't know this. You see, look at what I'm learning. It says the in-between.
The in-between is killing.
Because I think we spend a lot of that. I've been going through a lot with CRPS as well. And you go to doctors and you're stuck kind of in the, I had a doctor say to me, well, I'll get back to you if I think I can help you. And you're kind of like, what do you mean you'll get back to me?
Hold my breath there, doc.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think that's how this works, but he'll get back to me, so we're kind of always stuck in limbo or in the in-between. And since you've come out with this movie, you have really, I've gotten messages and I forward them to you. You've really struck the heartstrings of so many people in the community. And we've seen videos from people that have been sent that are just, I went hysterical crying, you were crying. And I think it's been such almost like an opening for a conversation. People didn't feel like before they could just come out and say, because people don't know. Now you have people and families watching this movie together. And it's that like opening that conversation piece.
Yes. And if anyone can get out of that in-between place that just sucks us in, if my movie can help people open those doors, I could die now. What a pleasure, what a honor. And you know what? I'm so happy it's helped other people, but on a selfish note, it's helped me so much. I didn't even know how badly I needed to talk about CRPS until I made this movie, till this movie was over, until people started talking to me about it. My eyes didn't open to how badly I needed to talk about it and how badly the rest of our community needs to talk about it and how helpful it can be. So, yeah, on a selfish note,
Yeah,
it helped
well,
me a lot.
you told me a story, I believe you were at one of the festivals, and I think it was a parent came up to you whose kid was sick, and they
Mm.
kind of,
It
this has
was,
made it through different festivals, and the movie's been seen on different occasions, and it's triggered, like I told you,
yeah,
that hotel scene was very triggering for me, where I mean, I don't cry at movies, and I was watching it, and you could actually feel yourself like I have been there. And you told me a story. I don't know if you could repeat it, but about what happened when you were at the festival.
gosh, I don't remember which one I told you because I've had quite a few, but one of my favorites that I remember is a man coming up to me
That's the
and
one.
talking about, an older gentleman
Yes.
who, his wife, she didn't have CRPS, but she had something, some kind of chronic pain. And he said that um, he could see his wife in that scene. He could see his wife in my face and in my character. And I mean, he had tears in his eyes, and it made him feel a certain way and made him think differently. And I it was an overwhelming moment for me because I didn't realize that the movie was going to reach people the way that it did, and not only with people with CRPS, but with people with any kind of chronic pain, any kind of invisible illness, is what I started realizing. The more festivals we went to, is it didn't have to be about the two illnesses there. I had quite a few people talking to me that was like, yeah, I saw my wife, I saw my friend, I see. No, they don't have CRPS. They have fibromyalgia. They have POTS. They have something else. There's there's this rainbow of invisible illnesses that don't get a representation on screen. So it's friends and family members of those people that are seeing their friends and family in my face. Gosh, does that make sense? Am I rambling?
No, it makes sense. And a couple days ago, I had Liv on, and Liv is the young girl that sent that video. And she had said to me, when the two of you, when we go live or we're doing one of those things, it
Yeah.
makes her feel less alone. And there had been times where she was, her pain psychiatrist was gone, and we just happened to pop up on the screen talking. And it kind of held her over until she was able to get to the doctor. Just having that back and forth with two people that have the same disease made her feel less alone,
Yeah.
and I think during this quarantine, and for me, I've had about 4 suicides of people with CRPS, and I think that the quarantine and everything going on is manifesting this hopelessness. And this movie, like she
Yes.
said, she said in the little clip she sent us, I didn't think I'd ever be able to go on a goddamn road trip. And here she is on a road trip. I want to go on a road trip. And it gave her, she moved to Syracuse, got an apartment, and is living her life. And you've given her that empowerment to see that, what, this isn't the end of my life like some of these other movies have shown. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
die. I can still go out and live my life. So you are
Yeah.
actually empowering other people.
Yes.
How does
Yes.
that feel? I
Um,
mean, like I told you, you're going to be the face of CRPS, but how does it actually feel to know that you are making that big of a difference?
it feels very warm in my stomach. Um, the introvert in me, I'm like totally weirded out and shy at this moment because,
You don't know
you
what to
know,
do with it.
Oh no. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear
Mic
you.
died.
Just pull them out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you good.
Hey, can you still hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. Um yeah, no, it feels good, and I don't saying it feels good feels like creepy because it shouldn't be a self-serving thing. I want benevolence out of me as much as possible. I'm just happy it can help anyone and start a conversation. Starting conversations is what I find to be the most important on anything. Open conversations and honesty about what you're experiencing and going through, um, um, especially with the people around you. It really makes life easier. Um, and I hope that can help. I want people to get to that point.
That's been what I've noticed to be the biggest thing that gets messaged is it's open conversations with my parents, or it's helped my grandparents to see that this is very real, whereas before they weren't believing me. So it's definitely a conversation piece, and it's a movie of hope. I mean, it
So
really,
your parents, I mean, grandparents had a phase where they didn't.
well, not mine personally, but I
Okay.
have had people who have said, my grandparents, won't talk to me anymore because they think, I'm making this up, or my parents have pulled away from me because they don't realize, that this is very real. And
Yeah.
they won't come to doctor's appointments with me. They won't do this, and this movie, people have watched it and have now been like, wow, it's not just my kid, it's more than, so it's been maybe almost like making people believe and see that this is a real situation.
Yeah. You know, I have weird advice, and that's about expectations that we have for people. Um, I have friends in my life that I put them in a box. They're wonderful friends. They know everything about me, but I don't talk to them about this. My
Mhm.
expectations of them handling my pain or dealing with it is at like a -0. So if they do ask about it or they ask how I'm doing, it fills me with joy and happiness because they remember that part of my life. But I don't put that expectation on them because they don't want it. They don't want to live up to that. So I'm not going to set myself up to be disappointed and sad because they're not giving me what I think I need from them. Um, so managing your own expectations of people is incredibly important. Like, stop trying to get someone to believe you when they don't want to. Um,
No expectations, no disappointments.
Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds kind of pessimistic, but I don't, it's not necessarily just like no expectations, just manage it. Be more realistic in your brain. Like, they're not going to save you. They're not going to make you feel better. Them believing you really isn't going to fully complete you because you've had to work so hard to get it to happen. Like, take a step back, reevaluate who you really want in your life, and then like keep that circle close. If you
We
have to
talked
spend
about this
most of your
yesterday,
life,
picking a tribe, the people that
yes,
really bring you
yes,
happiness, bring you up, and let you be your authentic self. You shouldn't have to
yes,
hide these pieces of you, so
yes,
you kind of have to separate the different friendships.
yeah, yeah. And I know it gets stickier and harder when it's family, but just like with any LGBTQ youth, like, you have to make a choice. Like, if your family isn't on board with who you authentically are and what you are authentically going through, they don't have to be part of your life. And that's the hardest thing to make a choice on and to stick to that choice. But I, that helps. It helps dealing with who you are. It helps dealing with the pain, everything.
I think
Um,
off of that, it's very funny when you're talking about friends because, I just had a massive surgery that had kind of gone wrong. And I found it very funny to see who messaged. And
mm,
I have to say, I started this off saying what an amazing human being. And I have to tell people that throughout the surgery, I think at least, if not every day, every other day, you messaged or you need anything. You're in California, I'm in New York, but you know what? Even saying, do you need anything? I know that if I needed to FaceTime, you would have got on there.
yeah,
It's people that you wouldn't expect that come into your life out of nowhere that really make the difference. And I can say, you just our friendship. I mean, we have never met in person. It's important, having people that make that difference is it changes who you are, changes,
yes,
allows you to be who you are,
yes,
and I've noticing that this is a problem, with this disease and just in general, people don't feel like with this disease they can come out and be themselves.
yep, yep. Especially because this disease does affect women predominantly more than men.
Primarily, yes, yeah.
Um, and women have, because of our society, have a hard time um, complaining. I mean, anything we say is a complaint. If because well, men think that they can endure pain more than women, even though we create life. It's that's just not true. Women do know how to deal with pain very well, and we do it in silence, unlike a lot of men. So it's hard. It is hard on a societal level as a female with pain to come out and go, hey, stop what you're doing. I'm in pain. Give me just a second. Because someone's going to roll their eyes at you. Someone's going to scoff, and you just want to hit them and just be like, have a little respect. But we can't get past that hump as a society until we all start talking about it and hold people like accountable for their terrible behavior.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll stop on that.
We're going to dig ourselves in a hole. So now we also, we've talked about our, having this arsenal of what we do for our pain. We all have these different, I like to call it like a toolbox of things that we use, and me and you have gone back with music, and surprisingly, we have I think the same playlist. I don't know what goes on. But what are your
music?
Yeah, basically we just share the Spotify back and forth.
Yeah.
What are your tools? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to be interested. What do you use to cope with this?
That's hard to answer because again, everything is such a rainbow. So everything is dependent.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. Fill in the blanks. Who's around me? Who's not around me? What's my responsibilities, etc. Things that I always have, and I feel so fucking dumb, are my earbuds, and the fact that they died, that proves how much they're always on me.
Me too.
Yeah, I can't go to a store, I can't go anywhere without the earbuds. They're my
But what's the reason? Is it just because of the stimulus? I use it because you know what? I don't want to hear the background noise.
Yeah, the stimuli, and it helps manage the anxiety that that I can't. Sometimes when I walk into a store without earbuds in, and I can hear, I hear like silverware cling, I hear boxes being put up, I just start hearing it all, and like the spidey senses, they just
you start
going,
to crawl out of you.
And then the anxiety creeps up because you're like, I don't want to feel bad, and then your brain
snowball.
So I have just found, instead of having to hardcore meditate through a grocery store, if I earbud myself.
I wouldn't mind seeing that on a video though, if you were going to do that, in a shopping cart while you meditate. I'm all about it.
Aldi, do you guys have Aldi?
We do. Okay.
I was in Aldi about 2 months ago. It was around, I think it was around Thanksgiving. So it was super, super crazy crowded. And I was standing in the chicken section because I buy chicken and boil it for my animals. Spoiled.
Got it.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Anyway, there's so many people. And some people just don't respect the personal bubble. I didn't have my earbuds. I don't know what happened. Probably because I forgot to plug them in. And it all came on, and the panic attack started happening, and the spidey senses and my nerves, I could feel my arm literally swelling. And I'm just standing in that cold section at the chicken, and I just put my head down, and I think I stood there for about 5 minutes.
It's just what?
Chicken, you're gonna have to fuck off. Not move.
But this is, it literally can come on out of nowhere and almost paralyze you.
Yes. And I hate it when it happens. But like when it was over, people left, I calmed it down. If I finished my shopping, I got in the car and I was like, high five, Mindy,
you made it.
You didn't get arrested because you went crazy, nothing.
You start throwing chicken around Aldi's, we're okay.
We're okay.
So we have the earbuds, impeccable taste in music. We know that.
Yes. I always keep a topical around in case I can't use a CBD or a THC topical for my arm.
Which I have just gotten to try, and it is absolutely phenomenal.
Have you used the pen yet?
I have. Also good.
Yeah. Where did you use it? Like, I read that it was really good, like right behind the knee to kind of go in, but.
Well, we're going to skip that spot right now. I did the front of the knee because the back of the knee is a little roughed up right now, but Afterwards, I'm
dump
going
that
to
into
test
the
it out.
back of the knee.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I'm just going to start swallowing the pens at this point. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But I did try that, so obviously if for both of Mindy and myself and a lot of people, THC and CBD are actually outweigh probably opioids.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't use any opioids. I haven't since I don't know, um 2012 or something. I
Let me addend
slowly,
that with saying I'm not against anybody who does, no
oh yeah,
judgment
not at
if you
all.
do. This is just what
I think if it works for you, great. It's just that it didn't work for me. It was honestly like taking a Tylenol, no matter what they gave me. Um, I didn't even feel any of the fun effects of opioids. Like
yeah, no.
nothing. Like people are like, oh, it's great, I got high. And I'm like, I didn't.
And I threw up
What
and it
is
was
happening?
great. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So there just wasn't any point for me. It just wasn't working. So I found that marijuana helps manage my pain. This is the best thing I say about marijuana. Marijuana helps me be okay with my pain, which goes back to managing your expectations. Manage your expectations on what your pain will be. It's not going to be cured. It's not going to go away. Accept it. Learn to deal with it. Marijuana helps with that. Prozac helps with that. I'm not ashamed to say that.
That's another sensitive subject. People don't want to admit that this disease, I've said to you, I think it kind of gives you a little PTSD. It gives you anxiety. It gives you this depression that, and I think another stigma, people
Yes.
don't want to say, what, I take medication or I take Xanax or I take Cymbalta or, and there's this stigma surrounding that, which is another problem that goes along with this. You know what? Better to admit that you have a problem mentally and you're not feeling right than to end up dead. I don't
Yeah.
see the stigma attached to that. I don't know why it's there. I would much rather be psychologically healthy than, feel like I can't do this.
Yeah. If your brain is not right, the rest of your body is not going to be right. And obviously we know that, like, our brain, there's something in our brain that's just continuously signaling, like it's sparked in a way that is always that way. So it's connected. Everything is connected. I don't know how many times I have to go to my doctors and go, I know this hurts because of this. Like, I know my body's connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figured out, like, I got to start with my brain. I have to start with being okay with pain. I'm not going to fix it. I'm not like,
And we've
my
talked about
base level's the floor. That's
compartmentalizing
what
our
it is.
pain and finding a way, this is just what it is. And like you said, you talk to yourself and you're like, you just need to get through 6 hours of this and then you could just take the day off. Or, I had said to my partner the other day, I got up, I went in the bathroom, I went in the mirror, and it was just one of those days where you got to literally give yourself a pep talk. And I was like, so far you've survived 100% of what you're going through. So you're on a streak right now. You're going to make it through today. You kind of have to motivate yourself some days because it doesn't come easy, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. My eyes opened this morning and I went, fuck.
Yeah.
Do I want to do today?
I want to put my feet on the ground and make this happen, or should I just roll back over, right?
Yeah, it's hard every day. Like, I may be smiling and can laugh at everything, but like, I mean, the depression is real. The PTSD is real. Like, living in that, I also found that something that was helpful for my brain, the depression and the PTSD, was making sure that I accomplished something in a day. That wasn't just like a shower or like a personal thing that's embarrassing. Like, oh, I showered, I'm so proud of myself. Not that. Like, I sent the emails I needed to send. Like, I had
something productive.
I had to learn to do something productive that made me feel like I was like part of this world and not in between. I had to somehow work, so I could feel good about myself. And I went a long period where I wasn't accomplishing enough. I didn't feel good about myself. My husband was going out and working and getting strong and furthering his career. And I was spending 60% of time in bed crying and watching way too much Grey's Anatomy. It's like, I wasn't feeling good about myself. So And when you don't feel good about yourself, the pain gets worse. The depression causes your pain to get worse. I know it amplified my pain. So deciding that I needed to fix here and getting on Prozac, incredibly helpful. And like, are you kidding? I mean, about every 2 years, I have to up my dose because my body gets
I
used to it.
too. So do I.
But I don't
So
care.
you know what? But if
Um,
it keeps you functioning
yeah.
properly and helps keep the pain down, I don't think there should be this taboo stigma
No.
attached to it. And I think if we fix that, which I don't know how we're going to do that, but I think that that'll also help with the pain. A lot of people don't want to go to the doctor and say, I'm depressed. I'm feeling like, I don't want to do this anymore. And before you get to that place, I think you definitely need to get help, because like I said, 4 suicides in a month,
Yes.
and the parents of these kids that I speak to say, I had spoken to them 4 days before. Did you notice anything?
Mm.
No. And that's the honest truth. I didn't hear anything different, and they, you start to blame yourself. Did I miss something? How did I miss it when I talk to people all the time? But you know what, like you said, I can smile and
Yeah.
nobody's going to know what's going on. You
And honestly, like, I remember these days where I could go on Monday and I'm okay. Tuesday, I'm okay. Then Wednesday hit and my pain would spike to a 10, and I would sit in there for 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's just like, well, I don't want to do this anymore.
and it comes on in waves, it's a
Yeah,
roller
you
coaster.
turn on a dime so quickly. And when you're sitting in pain that long, that's not letting go, of course you're thinking of an exit plan. What human is not?
Hmm.
So we all need to admit, I think everyone with chronic pain has had a moment and went, what's my escape plan? How do I get out of this life in this body? We have all had the thought. We should not be ashamed of it. We should all be very proud that we went, I have a different escape plan. I have a different way of coping. Um, and I mean, to me, the more we talk about just the fact that we have these thoughts and
Oh,
people admit it out
absolutely.
loud, all of it will become easier too. And
And
maybe the doctors will start to care about
I
mental
think
and physical.
that's what people like about when we have a conversation, is you're talking about the things that nobody talks about, and it leaves that room for opening. Like somebody said, we had talked about, people have thought about ending their lives, and then the mother said to the daughter, have you thought about it? And she said yes, and her mother was so taken back. But how can you live in a situation where this is a constant without getting some kind of help?
Yeah.
People need to be aware. We need to be aware of how we're feeling and express it. And I think that's the hardest part, is expressing it and feeling like you have an opening to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And
I mean,
getting over the vulnerability and how scary it is to let people know, it's this American way too, of just like, whatever you're dealt, it's up to you, and it's a choice to get over it and to do better. And if you don't, it's your fault. Um,
you
I
made
mean,
your
that's what
bed, now
humanity
lay in
has
it kind of
created.
situation.
Huh?
I said, you made your bed, now lay in it.
Yeah.
That was something that, I always heard. Well, now you got to get
Yeah.
out of the situation. And I think we spend primarily a lot of time trying to figure out, how are we going to get out of this pain? How are we going to get through this day? Most of our days are spent figuring out, what the hell are we going to do to make this go away?
But you can't make it go away. So spending
Exactly.
your time thinking about how to make it go away is
It's a lot of
not
wasted
productive.
time.
Yes. You have to reframe questions in your head and reframe the statements into more positive ways, into things that you can actually accomplish. Guys, we're not going to get rid of it. It's not going to go away. Just like, all think that way. And if it does go away, think of how freaking happy
Oh my
you'll be.
God, we'd be
Holy
thrilled.
crap.
We would be thrilled. So, one more thing,
Yeah.
going back to the in between,
Okay.
there is an amazing soundtrack that goes
Yeah.
along with your movie. I mean, I've never watched a movie and been like, damn, that music goes perfectly with that movie. I don't know why this movie and this soundtrack just are so fitting. How
I
did
think
that
it's
come
fitting
about?
because I knew that music so well. It was one of my favorite bands. My husband and I were obsessed with them. We knew the music so well, in and out. So when we got permission to use their music in the film, like we already knew like, oh, we're going to use this song in this scene. Like, I know when we edit, this song's going here. Um, um, and then there was like personal things, like the song that's playing after Las Vegas when they're driving before they go to the salt flats.
Yes.
That's my favorite song. That was also my favorite scene. So I had to put my favorite song with my favorite scene. Like there's just little things in there. And I'm like, they go together because
But it's
I
so
wrote it.
symbiotic. It just kind of,
Yeah.
you're like, what the hell is with this music? You just stop
Yeah.
and you're like trying to get the name of the song. And that's one of the first things I said to you. What's with the music? The music is intense. And you actually have a soundtrack now to this
Yes.
movie, correct? And it
Yes.
is able to be purchased, yes?
It's able to be purchased. It's on Apple Music. It's on TikTok for you kids
Oh,
out
it's on TikTok too. Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
Moving
waiting for
along.
someone to do a TikTok video with, because the soundtrack's awesome because
Don't
it's got
challenge me, Mindy, because I'll do it.
do it.
I'm
Well,
going to
okay,
do
so
it.
the soundtrack has not just songs, but it has dialogue tracks that follow the movie. So it's kind of, the soundtrack is in order of the movie. So if you start at track 1 and go all the way to track 24, you're going to get all of the music plus bits of the movie, and it kind of tells the story of the movie. So you can
Did you put
listen
that
to it.
together as well?
Huh?
You put that together as well?
Of course.
I mean, is there,
Oh
you
my
know, so
God.
this goes to show that, I mean, Mindy is the perfect example, even though you're in pain, you need to continue to be productive. You need to find
Yeah.
something, whether, it's got to be something you love. Somebody said to
Yeah.
me, well, why would you start a podcast now when you're going through all of this? Why wouldn't I start one now? This is the perfect time.
Perfect time.
Nothing amazing comes, when you're
Being happy.
comfortable, when you're it's the truth. Nothing phenomenal happens. You don't get bigger muscles by sitting at home. You got to
Yeah.
be sore. Anything that's uncomfortable brings some kind of progress. And
Right.
your movie, the way you live, the way you just portray yourself, it gives hope to a lot of people. And to end this, I want you to give give the people out there some advice from you to anybody who feels like, what, I just can't do this.
Huh.
I don't
Well,
want to put any pressure on you though.
this is what I always say. So I can be a little harsh. It's a choice. I'm not saying that whether or not you're in pain or not is a choice, because we know we're in pain. That's not the choice. How you react to it is a choice. How you deal with it is a choice. Which is the last tattoo I got on myself. I got it on my right arm for pure pain reasons, but I have it on my arm. It's a choice. How I react to the pain that I am experiencing is a choice. It's my choice. Um, uh, it, I repeat it to myself all the time. When the pain starts to become overwhelming and I want to cry and not do anything, I say, well, that is a choice I can make. I can
Mhm.
also make the choice to swallow some of this pain and try to do something else. So that's my advice, is it's a choice. And I know, like, no one wants more responsibility on them. Like, it's already hard enough dealing with pain every day. And I'm asking you in your brain to be so strong and make a choice that doesn't wallow in the pain. That's freaking hard. I understand. And it takes practice and practice and practice. And
But like we
I
know,
mean, I tattooed it on myself to remember. I have to say it every day to
you
myself.
have that on you too,
Yeah. Yes, I tattooed it on
girl.
my affected arm. Sorry.
You're a tough cookie there. All right. What does it say? Make a choice.
It's a choice.
I love that. But you know what? The body will quit long. I mean, the mind will quit long before the body. And, getting your mind right is really what this is all. It's all mind over matter. We know we're in pain. But what are you going to do with it? If every day that you're in pain, you sit down, you do nothing, you're not doing a whole lot of anything anytime soon.
Right.
So that really
And,
is the truth. You need to make a choice and change the way you're thinking,
and all
and
this
make the
is
best
just,
of it.
it's just another way of saying bite the bullet, which,
Yeah.
I hate the saying because, it came from my dad and I learned how to hide pain because of it. But also
But it's
it was
true.
just but it was just the old timers way of saying it's a choice. Like, I know you're in pain, but how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with it? You know, who you are at the end of this journey on the other side of the pain. That's who I'm interested in, is me on the other side of it, not on the front side of the pain. Let's hop on over and see who I am without the pain. And I say that meaning like, it's just there behind me. It's not who I am anymore. I'm talking weird metaphors.
I love that. I love that. Well, with that, I want to thank you so much for coming on Walking Through Fire. And we appreciate you. And I can't thank you enough for coming out with the movie and being such a great person and friend. And I can't wait to see what else goes on.
Thank you. Me too. I'm so glad to have met you. It's been great. And I can't wait to go live again so we can talk about music.
Yes, we can. We have to plan that out. So stay tuned
Yes.
for a live session on Mindy's page. You guys look up the In-Between. What is it? The Inbetween.com?
No, on Facebook, we're in between.
See?
In between movie 2019.
Okay.
Same on
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, I'm double checking.
And you can contact Mindy. Mindy's on Facebook, because I know a lot of people now want to get in touch with you.
Yes, please. Mindy Bledsoe, Facebook. I look like this, or I've got colored hair. Sometimes.
Yeah, she's all over the place.
Yeah, I am.
But with that, that's the information. I will post it underneath the video as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. You're so great.
Oh, we love you.
Love you.
Have a good night.
Bye. Wait, are we hanging up now? Okay.
We're hanging up, girl.
Bye.